first help you. Thank you, women's business. And I will turn.
Thanks, Christina.
Thanks, Christina. So as Christina mentioned, we've been talking about partnering on this for a while. I'm Emily Suzannin, by the way, with the Iowa Center, and we host the Women's Business Center for the state of Iowa. It's funded in part by the SBA. Got to disclose them and give them a shout out. But I think emailed with Liz back in February or March and was like, I really want you to do one of these First Fridays because just knowing what she's built and what she does here in Des Moines. Other speakers we've had before include Julie McGuire, who runs Zanzibar, Jamie Milne, who's a photographer, artist, kind of maker here in Des Moines, and Fred Scott, who does Locally Grown. So really focusing on those small businesses here in Des Moines that make a difference. And so when I talked to Liz, founder of Adore Your Walls, it was sort of a no-brainer that I wanted to hear her story and have her share it with you guys. So without further ado, Liz, do you want to introduce yourself, talk about sort of what led you to start your own business?
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me here. I'm really excited and excited to see so many faces in here that I know and don't know, and I'm excited to meet all of you. So Adore Your Walls, it's an art advisory service. We do a lot of online work. We help people find the perfect piece of art for their style, space, and budget. That can mean a lot of different things. I started the company 4.5 years ago. And it really started with working with corporations. My very first client was DuPont Pioneer, and we really started working on their corporate collection. I was helping them buy artwork, manage the collection, do all sorts of things, categorize, database. And so from there, I would get phone calls and say, okay, well, I know you do corporations, but would you do a restaurant? And so I'd say, yeah, absolutely. And so that started some of our restaurant work. We've done Bubba, Malo, Table 128. We're working on a really cool new restaurant in West Des Moines now called The Range. It's going to have a golf simulator as well. So we do restaurants. We also do AdoreYourWalls.com, which has online art advisory services. So people can buy an art package online. They fill out a questionnaire. They give us the dimensions of their space and a photo, and from there we help them suggest artwork. They can be clients anywhere in the United States using that service. We also do a lot with what we call artful content. So we do partnerships with places like Better Homes and Gardens and Martha Stewart Living, Do-It-Yourself Magazine, for example, and we help them create content that's focused on artwork. So we just did a really cool piece that's on stands right now with Midwest Living. That's a 6 or 7 page spread that talks about really awesome Midwest artists. So we want to hold up and elevate, lift up Midwestern artists all of the time, but we work with auction houses around the country, around the world, really. We work with galleries around the world. We use online sources, and we work with artists individually. So we have a lot of different places that we source that artwork.
And how do clients find you? How do corporations find you?
Well, we've been really, really lucky. So when I started the company, it started so much from LinkedIn. LinkedIn was that source for me. I had been thinking about starting the company and really wanted to focus on corporate sponsorship. So to back up my story a little bit, we talk about the decisions that bring you to starting your own company and the things that lead you to becoming an entrepreneur. Some of those were decisions that I made myself. Some of them were decisions that were made for me. I go back all of the time, taking it all the way back to when I was 4 years old, and I talk about when my grandmother would buy me art lessons at the Des Moines Art Center. It really started my love affair with art. You know, I talk about, but that was her decision to do. That was just something that I lucked into. My parents, who are here, it was their decision to be entrepreneurs themselves. So I grew up in a house where that was the norm. That was their decision that I totally lucked into. And then I made decisions for myself. So that was going to the University of Missouri, graduating with art history and journalism, moving to Los Angeles, and getting my master's at the University of Southern California in public art. The wordy real name of it is curatorial practice in the public sphere, but we call it public art. And then it was that decision to move back to Des Moines. But to get real with you, because we're all friends here, you know, part of that decision was to move back for a job that I thought was the job. I thought it was the whole reason that everything had brought me to that point to get that job, and I did not get it. And it was something that I really had to readjust and adapt and really think about, okay, so what's next? And from there, I did a year of service with AmeriCorps with the Department of Cultural Affairs. And then on the very last day of my service, I got a job with Come and Go. And that was a huge pivotal point in my career because I was their in-house curator. If you have not seen the Come and Go collection, I urge you to go take a tour because it is out of this world. It's probably the best collection in Iowa outside of the Des Moines Art Center. But it is an incredible collection and I had amazing opportunities. However, I wasn't just focusing on artwork. And I realized fairly quickly that that just wasn't the job for me. And I don't mean that in a scandalous way, but I think it's really important, and it has been important in my career, to figure out what I don't want, just as much as what I do want. Because when I figure out the don't, sometimes that's easier for me, and then I can help shape the do. And so I had been at Come and Go for about 10 months, not very long. But in October of 2012, I started seeing that there were other corporate art collections in Des Moines, and they were not being taken care of. When I first started taking on clients, there was artwork in janitors' closets. There was artwork that had been in the same place for 25 years. And I tell my clients all of the time, it's a valuable asset. Your art collection is a valuable asset. Just like almost like a stock or something. So you wouldn't leave your stocks in the same place for 25 years. You probably shouldn't leave your artwork in the same place that way either. So they really, really needed help. Maybe they had a CEO that had a love of art, or they had an in-house curator at one time, but the economy turned, and so they could no longer keep that person on. So they had these art collections, they just were not being taken care of. And I saw that there was this niche in the market that was not being taken care of. So that was October of 2012. By December, I had quit. And I got to start my business in December 21st of 2012. And so it's been 4.5 years. When I make a decision, I act fast. There's no question I've made up my mind. And so those are kind of all of the things that led me to that point. It was a lot of decisions over a lifetime, but.
And did it go as you thought it would?
It was better. It was so much better. I'll tell you, I should give you a cautionary note, that my superpower in life is getting people to quit their jobs. And I love it. It's a power that I love to use. I love helping people quit their jobs to pursue a passion. And because it was such an incredible thing for me. That's a whole different speech, that's a whole different talk, but if you want me to give it to you, I will over a lunch.
We might have to hire you at the Iowa Center.
Yeah.
We are pro-entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. And it was quitting my job and starting the business was a revelation. It was completely liberating. It was everything and nothing like what I expected. It was so much better. And I think one of the greatest things that I personally experienced was that I did it here in Des Moines. Des Moines is a place that's built to support entrepreneurs. It really is. When we were living in Los Angeles, Nick and I talk about it all the time. You had to be a millionaire, to really make a difference. But in Des Moines, you have to have a good idea. It's not really about who you are. It's about a great idea and working hard and being kind to people, and then people will support you. I saw it last night. My company was having an issue with a project, and I had people calling me at 8, 9 o'clock at night, using their personal time to help me figure out the problem because they believed in the project we were working on. This was not affecting them or giving them anything, really. It was just helping me and helping the project and helping our business. And people in Des Moines do that all of the time. I'm so lucky to be here and doing this. No question.
So talk about, you touched on it, but some of the experiences and lessons that you've learned, in starting a business, and when things don't go as you think they're going to go, what do you do? It sounds like you've built a good team to help you.
Yes, yes. So she's nodding to Kate, who's my sister, and she's also my COO. She joined the company in August. I have an incredible team, but I think the main thing that I've learned when things aren't going the way that you think they're going to is that you just keep going. You just do the work. And the life of an entrepreneur is a wild ride. You will have highs where you feel like you're on top of the world, and then 3 days later you will have a low and you'll be like, am I going bankrupt? Like it's so all over the place. But if you stay consistent and you keep doing the work, then things are gonna be okay. We have wins all the time at Adore Your Walls, but it's interesting, we just keep going. You go to work at 8 a.m. the same day as any other day before. I love the show, The West Wing. Have you guys seen that show? And I think about a lot how when they would have like a big win or a big loss on the show, President Bartlett just goes, what's next? And that's a lot what we do at Adore Your Walls. We pat ourselves on the back and we celebrate our wins, but that was one win and now we want another. So we just keep going. And if we have a loss and it happens and we have a no or something like that, we just don't really let them get to us. No's happen all of the time, they happen daily, and they just kind of roll off our back. We learn from it, we figure out why it was a no, and then we take that knowledge to the next time. And we just don't let it get us down. We just keep going, we stay consistent.
So you've touched on this a little bit too, but in terms of characteristics that define an entrepreneur, you have to be able to quit your job, sure, maybe convince other people to do so.
Yeah.
You have to accept no, but
yes.
What else do you think that you possess, or that maybe Kate possesses, or that your parents possessed when you were growing up as entrepreneurs that stuck with you and that you think necessary?
I think the one characteristic that an entrepreneur has to have is the ability to adapt. And things you can plan, you can have the greatest business plan in the world. I worked with Christina at one point on my business plan. I knew that business plan was solid, right? But it did not turn out the way that I thought that it was going to go. It just doesn't, because other people see things too. That's one of the things that I love telling people, is that you just got to talk about your idea. You got to adapt, but you also got to talk about your idea, because there are people that are smarter than you, that have a different background than you do, and they're going to be able to take their experiences and say, well, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And a lot of time I hadn't, and I thought, oh, that's a great idea. So I love talking about it, and I love being able to adapt, because like I said, we thought we were going to work on corporate art collections, and we still do that. DuPont is still my client to this day, but we're working on so many different things, and it's led to a much more diversified company, because we have a lot of diversified revenue streams that way, really being able to spread it out. So if we're not working on a lot of magazines that month, maybe we're working on more corporate sponsorships, or this month we're working on a restaurant.
And that's something you didn't predict?
Did not predict
that
at all.
Not in the business plan?
Not in the business plan whatsoever. I think it's also really hard for a business like ours to figure out what a yearly projection is going to look like, because we get phone calls all of the time, 2 months ahead of time, saying the due date's July 10th. What can you do? We had no idea that was coming. So again, being able to adapt and figure out the way to make it happen, because it's an exciting project, or it's just something that we're going to learn from, or whatever. The other thing is that Kate, for example, has very different skills than what I have. Bringing her on was the smartest thing I ever did, because we like to stay in our lanes. I am really, really, really good at what I do, and Kate's really, really good at what she does, and we don't want to do the other person's job. So that is one of the best things that I did for our company, was bringing somebody on that can focus on the other things.
What are some of those other things?
Oh, God.
They gotta know.
Well, Kate really works on logistics. I'm a creative person, and I want to come up with really, really cool ideas that we can execute quickly. I love doing that. I love working on the creative design. Those are the things that get me up in the morning, that keep me up at night. I love working on that stuff. Kate wants to make it happen. And that's really, really great because I have a lot of ideas. She gets these cryptic emails at 3 a.m. that she's got to somehow, I know she's just like deciphering, like, what could this possibly mean? And then we, talk at 8 a.m. the next morning and really get to hash it out, and she figures out how to make it happen. So that has been an incredible partnership, for sure. One of my pieces of advice that I love to give to entrepreneurs is do only what only you can do. People pay me because of how I create designs, my creativity, not because of how I run QuickBooks, right? So it's been really important to me in the last 4.5 years to be able to focus on what only I can do, and then give things to Kate, for example, that only she can do, and give my accountant things that only they can do. Those are the things that has helped to expand my business faster than ever in the last year because I've been able to focus on what I can do.
So some people that have helped you along the way, it sounds like Christina, your team, the connection with LinkedIn at the beginning. You have a really great social media presence, Instagram, Facebook. If you don't follow Adore Your Walls and what Liz is up to, I encourage it because I think it's a great example of successful.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
But you have a lot of inspirational sort of quotes in your office, and you imparted wisdom to the group. But what else do you get inspired by, and who else has helped you along the way? Did you have an accountant off the bat, things like that?
Yeah. So I had a great accountant. I had a lawyer that was willing to look over things as well at a discounted rate because I couldn't afford it. I had my family. I mean, they're all sitting over here. And they, having been entrepreneurs, Kate having it in her blood, my husband just being a creative person himself and incredibly supportive, they were all there listening. When I came to them back in October of 2012 and said, I have this idea, I want to start a business, they all went, super, let's do it. There was never a moment of, I don't know, is this right? Do you really want to do that? Because they realized, what I realized, I think, was that it was a good idea, number one. But number two, I was 27 at the time. And what was going to happen? Nick and I were married, but we didn't have a mortgage. We don't have kids. I mean, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to have to get another job. I mean, the failure was so much less extreme than what the positives could be that I knew that I had to go for that. And I had a team of people completely backing me up and telling me I could do it too. That's one of the things that my parents have given me is like an extreme amount of confidence that's probably not even well-deserved. Like at the ballet recitals, you were the best one and I was not, but I went into that ballet recital feeling like I was awesome. So, I had that group of people, but I also knew pretty early on that I wanted to be able to protect the business. And part of that was getting an accountant that could look at my books, having a team, having the lawyer, but also just going and talking to people about it. So I was talking to Christina. I was talking to Tej Dewan. Tej is an incredible person, and when I did screw up my QuickBooks, he sat down with me for hours and figured out what I had done wrong. I mean, it's having those people on your side that's incredible. Great networking groups that I've been able to be a part of. I mean, there's just so many people. But today, like the people that I still rely on, the places like the Center for Economic Success, the Small Business Center, Square One, Mike Colwell, and what Christina's doing here. I use them all of the time. The partnership has been such a cheerleader. They have been on our side since day one. I think all of those places, Iowa Women Lead Change, IWLC, an incredible group. All of those people, your wins are their wins too. They really, really want to be able to make sure that you're succeeding and can lift up your story, because when something great happens, they can show other people that like Iowa is a great place to start a business. Des Moines is a place where you will be supported. So that your wins are their wins, and I use them on a daily basis. There's no question.
And we try and all work together. I mean,
yes.
That's why Christina and I talked about this. We have Amy and Jill here from IEDA and from, why am I blanking on the name? Amy. What? Oh, Iowa SourceLink. Thank you. Both of them, support us and post things on their calendar. I knew it's in my head. Sorry, I can see your email. But with the TSB program and things, there's a lot of resources for small businesses.
There's no competition. They all want everybody to succeed. We all can be succeeding here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the way that those organizations work together is incredibly beneficial.
So when you were deciding, I'm going to start a business December 21st, did you go down and file your paperwork? Or did you start an LLC right away?
Yeah.
Did your name change, or were you Adore Your Walls off the bat?
No, I was Lidgett Fine Art.
Okay.
And then Adore Your Walls didn't happen until about 2 years ago when I wanted to start the online portion of it. And I thought it was important for that portion of it to take my name off of it because we wanted to go national. And I like to think I'm a big deal, but Liz Lidgett didn't mean anything in Oregon. So we wanted to come up with a catchy name that people could really be consistent with. So AdoreYourWalls.com came on. We actually started the company through a Kickstarter. It was completely funded through a Kickstarter within a week. Normally, a Kickstarter will do things like a really awesome tech watch or something like that, and then you get the tech watch as your thank you. We did it a little bit differently. Depending on the level, you got a piece of artwork or 2 or 3 or 4. And so we worked with really awesome national artists that were willing and believed in the project. And so we worked with people like Chad Weiss, but then also locally Laura Palmer, Garrett Cornelison, who is from Des Moines but is now out in Los Angeles. So we got to do some really fun things, but that's how we got it funded, was through Kickstarter.
So how do you stay competitive in the art industry? I mean, there's a lot of different ways to buy art, to find art.
So hard. I mean, you've got an art background too.
Yeah.
Constantly looking at artwork. I love now, because of our social media presence, we have a lot of artists that reach out to us too, which has been so wonderful. We like promoting the artists that we work with, so I think other artists see that and know that we're going to treat them well and they want to work with us as well. We have a lot of galleries that we work with. We work with Christie's, Sotheby's, Phillips. I mean, we work with them all, depending on the client level. We have clients that have a budget of $100, or we have clients that have multiple thousands. So it all kind of runs the gamut. And one of the things that I love about my job is that I really it's a creative puzzle piece, trying to find the right artist for the right space on that budget. There's so many things that go into finding the perfect piece of artwork. So you have to know a lot. I'm on Pinterest all of the time. Instagram is my jam. I love it. And I have my personal @Liz Lidgett, and then we have Adore Your Walls too. One of the things that you're talking about, our social media presence, we try to be very authentic. Kate and I are on Instagram stories all of the time because we are talking about our wins and we are talking about our losses. About a month ago, we had a day where nothing could go right. We showed up for a meeting about a mural. We do a lot of murals here in town. We showed up for a meeting for a mural, and the place literally did not have a wall for a mural. I have no idea why they took the meeting. It was just like one thing after another. But we got on Instagram and we talked about it. And
did you end up doing a mural there?
No. No. Maybe we will. Somehow we'll figure out a way. But not yet. But we got on Instagram and we talked about it, and we had a ton of feedback of people saying that on Instagram, especially in social media, it's a fake world. It's not real. It's not real life. And so if you can bring in some of that authenticity to what you're doing and show people that you're a real person and a real business, I think it really helps, and we gain followers, and we have a lot of interaction because of it, because they're like, hey, me too. Mercury must have been in retrograde. Like something was there that people really felt like, oh, you had a bad day and you wanted to talk about it, and like what the details were.
And they can connect with that.
Yes.
And they appreciate that inclusion.
Absolutely. But we do a lot of inspiration. We talk a lot about the projects that we're working on. We like showing projects halfway done because we like showing the process. People really get into that. Right now, on the Ford and Garland building on Locust and I don't know, whatever that is, 16th, 15th or so, Chris Vance is working on a mural right now, today. So you'll be able to see something in process that we're working on, and I love showing that. We have another project right now at Coles Commons where we have 18 large, giant golf balls that are 5 feet tall. So we're working on a lot of really cool projects. We work on a lot of very strange things. When we got those golf balls, we were like, what did we get ourselves into? I totally think the name of my book would be I Didn't Know What I Was Getting Myself Into. That's the story of my life.
What are the golf balls for?
The Solheim Cup.
Okay.
That's a great question. They're for the Solheim Cup that's coming August 14th. It's one of the largest LPGA events in the world. There's Team America and Team Europe. It's like the Ryder Cup, but for women. It's going to be at Des Moines Golf. And so we have these golf balls that 18 different artists painted. And they're all at Coles Commons together for the weekend, and then they're going to be dispersed around Des Moines and West Des Moines.
And did companies sponsor the golf balls?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
So.
The partnership did, DCA.
Nice.
Yeah, so anyway, there were 18 different sponsors too.
And do the artists get paid for that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, see, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the last month, so if you take May, for example, we try and create a lot of work for artists. We love doing that. We want to make sure that Des Moines is a place where artists can be full-time artists, that we have a really important creative economy, that we are working our ways toward being truly one of the greatest creative and artistic communities in the Midwest. That's what we really want to see. And I think part of that is making sure that the opportunities are here. So we're trying to always make new murals and trying to talk to corporations about coming up with new projects that they previously hadn't been thinking about. In May, we wrote checks to over 40 different artists.
That's awesome.
So we're creating work for people here, which is one of those things that really gets me excited. Yeah.
So when you started Lidgett Fine Art and then switched, what was that process like for you? You saw opportunities. Was it an idea at dinner one night with Nick? Did Kate talk with you about it? Like, was it a pivotal, like, yes, this is it moment? Or how did you come up with the name? Like, how did all that, that's 100 questions in one, but how did all that transpire?
Man, I mean, that feels like such a blur now. Like I told you, we act fast. Yeah. So one of those things, it was a conversation with Kate, it was with Nick, it was with my parents, it was with anybody that would listen. Annie's in the back, I'm sure she remembered me talking about it. There were people that I was like, I think I have this idea. I think it could work. What do you think? And they really would give me a lot of feedback, and I go back to talking about it all the time. But it was this kind of conglomeration of wanting to continue the business to expand. I was having people call me from California and Texas and friends and people that had seen me on Instagram saying, I love your work. How can I work with you if I'm not in Iowa? And I didn't have a way to do it. So Adore Your Walls came from, and naming something again, Lidgett Fine Art was so easy to name. And then naming something again was so hard. We had a list of probably 50 different options. But then you've got to go through the trademark and the copyright and all of that and see what else everybody else has come up with. And is it too close? And man, it was just a headache. But we came up with Adore Your Walls because we really want people to adore their space. And I would have people say to me all the time, I have this wall that's blank and I just hate it, and it makes me, I get home at night and I don't have enough time to even think about it. And when I do think about it, it disappoints me. And it's like, there were like a lot of feelings in these blank walls, right? And so that's why we use the hashtag No More Blank Walls all of the time. I jokingly have, but kind of really call myself the crusader against blank walls. I'm trying to eradicate blank walls from America.
There's a bunch in here.
I know there are. I'm like looking at one right now.
You better talk to Liz.
Yeah, so anyway, that's kind of where the walls part, Adore Your Walls, came from.
Sure.
But we were talking a lot about it, and I would say from the idea to the Kickstarter campaign, it was like maybe, 2 months? Yeah, if that. We were having phone calls fast and furious with artists from around the country to see if they would give us the rights to their artwork to be able to print it for the campaign. And again, it was one of those things where people were like, this is a good idea. Yeah, I want to support it. So it happened really, really quickly. And then the great thing about the Kickstarter was that it proved that there was an audience for it. The fact that we were able to do that so quickly and have it sold out within a week showed to me that people were excited about the idea and our business and all of that. So it showed me a little bit of viability too.
And you had a video on the Kickstarter,
yeah,
right? Okay.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I really love doing is talking on video, which seems really strange, but
Here's another opportunity.
yay! But we do a lot of video work. We have a video partnership now where we do a video once a month for Martha Stewart Living. I did a video series for Better Homes and Gardens called The Art Hunter, where we would go in and see it. It was like a 5-minute HGTV show where you'd see the space, you'd meet the couple, you'd see the blank wall, you'd see the process, and then there was a reveal at the end. I really love doing that because I think it empowers people to do it on their own too. I have learned that through all of this artful content that we create, just because I'm telling you exactly how to measure a piece of artwork and install it. It should be 60 inches eye level in the middle of the piece, right? I give that tip all of the time. They're still gonna use me, right? But I still want the people that feel like they can't or even on a budget or whatever to be empowered to be able to have art in their homes. I hope that Adore Your Walls, whether they're buying a package or they're reading a magazine article or they're looking at my Instagram, in some way is motivating someone to put art on their walls and pay an artist.
So what you're doing is pretty innovative. If you haven't visited her site, there's another really awesome video on your website, adoreyourwalls.com. And I remember visiting it some months ago, and there's a pretty unique, in my mind, high-tech user experience, where they take a photo, literally, of their blank wall and then submit it to you, right?
Yeah.
So did you have that idea in the Kickstarter? Like, did you know that? Okay.
Yeah, so we pretty much outlined in that video on Kickstarter exactly what it was gonna happen. There were some things that changed in the process. Happy Medium created the website, and they had a lot of ideas. Again, trust the experts sometimes, and they know how to build a website, and I didn't. So they had a lot of really great ideas themselves. But we had a general idea of what the outline was gonna be. That video, I think, and I hope, more than anything, showed my passion. And especially for the Kickstarter, because I got to talk about why I feel like people should have art in their home, why they should live with it, that I want to get rid of blank walls. I really tried to show the passion aspect versus the nitty-gritty, and I think that was part of the reason that people really got on board, because they saw that there was a real person behind this company. It wasn't just some nameless conglomeration of a weird board that nobody knows or anything. It was me sitting on my computer, working with these artists, using Photoshop. I think that was part of the process, yeah, for sure.
So when you started marketing Adore Your Walls, and as you continue to do so, kind of circle back to an earlier question that we weren't ready for.
Oh, yeah.
What was your marketing like, one, and then two, how do you continue to get clients?
Right, so we're super lucky that most of it comes from word of mouth.
Which is most businesses, I would say, anymore.
Yes, we have tried doing the Google AdWords, and we've tried a couple of different things, but truly word of mouth is where it's at for us. Doing good work and making work that people want to talk about is number one. I am also shameless. So if I'm doing a project that I think is cool, I am emailing the business record, I am emailing the register, I am getting on the phone with KCCI, and I've developed those relationships, but making sure that they know about the project too, and don't you think it would make a great story?
And a happy story.
And a happy story, right? Yes, absolutely, yes, absolutely. So we do a lot of shameless promotion that way, and that's basically what social media is too, and that's where we spend most of our marketing time. We do Facebook, but Instagram is so highly visual, and because they have that story version of almost like their version of Snapchat or something on it now, we can show in the moment what we're doing and what we're talking about. We do Facebook Live sometimes now too, but we're not paying for advertising. We haven't had to do that yet, which is great.
Right. So when you started the Kickstarter, you just pushed that out to kind of everyone you knew and said,
Yes, exactly.
This is it.
Yes, please share, please give me money. You like that? I mean, that's pretty much what the email was. But it worked. It was great because the way that Facebook reach ends up happening is that it's popping up in all of these people's feeds. And what's really interesting now is that it happens to me once a day now that I say, hi, my name is Liz Lidgett. Somebody goes, great, I follow you on Instagram. So my social media presence has now totally preceded.
Right. Well, how many followers do you have?
Like almost 25,000 now, which is great for Liz Lidgett. And then Adore Your Walls has much fewer, but it's kind of a symbiotic relationship that it goes back and forth. And I'm talking about Adore Your Walls work all the time, and we're pushing it that way too. Because one of the things we did for the very first time in April was an Instagram art sale. So this was one of those 3 a.m. ideas that I just wanted to try out because we don't normally sell artwork, we help buy artwork. But what I wanted to try was just putting a photo of a piece of artwork that we had 30 of in Instagram at a set time and have people write sold. And then we direct messaged them for their email, and then we sent them an invoice. We sold out of one of the prints in under 10 minutes. Wow. We sold over 125 pieces of artwork in a day, all through Instagram on Adore Your Walls. So we're gonna be doing another one June 24th, Saturday, June 24th, and it's all Iowa artists this time. So we're really excited about that too. It was Christy Kohut, who's a Chicago artist, a pretty well-known national artist that we work with a lot. And her artwork is really fun and amazing. It's called happy art. I mean, people like it. It's very energetic. But we're working with Iowa artists this time because one of the things that gets me really excited is when we're doing a project like Malo, or we did Bubba recently, where we are working with local artists, national artists, and international artists. I want to show that Iowa artists can be a part of that conversation seamlessly. And one of the ways that I've been able to do that is through the restaurants, because people are so, I mean, it's one of those ways that like you can get so many eyes on things. And the reaction to their artwork has been really, really good at all of those places. But we make a very conscious effort for a couple of things. Especially at the restaurants, we're doing local, regional, national, and international. We also make sure that there is a pretty even number of men and women artists. We also like showing ethnic diversity too in our artists because which can be difficult, quite frankly, especially if you're looking at Iowa artists. But we did all of the murals on the wall of Roca. There's 12 murals. And one of the things that I am super excited about is lifting up female artists, especially because you see these percentages that it's like 75% of men are male artists are in major museums, right? But then like 90% of the nudes are women. So it's like the way that we see women in arts is wrong, personally. And so we are trying to do the very little portion that we can to make sure that we're buying from female artists. Our golf balls, it was not a conscious effort, but it just happened that it was something like 15 out of the 18 were female artists. There's a lot of women working here right now, and so we're really excited about making sure that we are showing gender diversity, ethnic diversity, any diversity that we can in the art world here in Iowa.
Artists are entrepreneurs in their own right.
Yes, absolutely.
So by supporting them, you're that whole.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, I get really excited. Like I said, I love getting people to quit their jobs. And that has become this strange little passion of mine just from owning a business and knowing how liberating it was in my life, but then also making sure that entrepreneurs are succeeding here in Des Moines too. I mean, you guys have the lock on that. You've got these amazing organizations, but I think it also goes back to other people sitting down and saying, I did this and you definitely can do it too. And so we think of artists as entrepreneurs as well, and we want to make sure that they have enough work that they can be doing this full time and all of that. So,
have you ever gotten a phone call or an ask that you had to say no to? That wasn't on my list of questions. But.
Yeah. So we are for the first time saying no to things. And that is a really interesting turning point in our company.
It's an okay thing.
It is an okay thing. There was a very, very long time, probably way longer than Kate would have wanted me to. I said yes to pretty much everything. Part of it was because I'm a curious person and I like learning, and I wanted to make sure that we were doing interesting projects that we were going to keep growing from. So, I say yes to painting golf balls. I mean, things like that I'm like, yeah, I've never done anything like that. Let's do it. This will be fun. So one of the things that we have started talking about now, I should give you another cautionary note. I love swearing. And one of the things that the partnership did for my business a couple of years ago is they sent me to South by Southwest, my business and Justin Shane's business, to South by, and we were there for the week. It was an incredible experience. There's this awesome Iowa mafia of entrepreneurs down there. They have this cool, they like rent out a bar or get a tent. It's so fun. You feel like Iowa is the coolest place in the world, really. When you're down in Austin, Texas, you can't believe it. So the partnership sent me down there to help represent Des Moines and Iowa businesses. And one of the things that I'm going to kind of abbreviate this because we're on camera. If it's not a hell yes, that it's an F no, is what the talk was. And I think about that all of the time in our career now and just in my daily life, because you can say yes to so many things and get overwhelmed. That's one of the awesome things about Des Moines is that there are so many opportunities. I mean, your calendar could just be booked day in and day out. But now we're trying to do things that are really excite us. And we talk a lot about what does Adore Your Walls give an F about? It's actually up on our windows. We used a marker. And if we've got 3 or 4 things that we really, really care about. These are our whys, they're our guiding principles. And if a project doesn't relate back in one of those ways to the things that we give an F about, then we're not gonna do it anymore. And we've started saying no. And it's been hard for me because I love being like, yes, yes, yes. And Kate's sitting there while I'm on the phone. She's like, don't say yes to that. Don't do it.
Well, and another, right, voice of reason. That is why you're a good partner.
Yeah.
Well, and you've established like your sort of own internal mission, vision, and like pillars of what's important to you.
Exactly.
Success.
Yes. So it's been important for us to identify those things and really be, just to think about it and be strategic on what we're saying yes to anymore, because there's a lot of opportunities out there. We really did. One of the greatest things about this business is that we filled a niche that wasn't being taken care of. And the opportunities keep coming, and I love it. It's so exciting, but there are just things that we shouldn't be doing. So we're going to say no now.
Yeah. So I'll ask one more question, and then we'll open it up to the floor.
Okay.
It's, I think, about 10 till.
Oh, great.
I'm sure no day is standard in your world, but outline your typical day for us. Like, do you wake up at the same time every day, or is it just kind of a knows what's going to happen today?
Well, yeah, you kind of hit it on the head. There's really no typical day. I try a few times a week to wake up at 5:45. Sometimes I hit the snooze button more than I should to go work out. And then, I take a quick shower, and then I'm on to emails. I try and spend part of the morning time by myself because that's my time to get through emails, and then we do a lot of writing, and that's my time to get that done if I have an article due. Then Kate and I are back together and kind of talking about, we have an office now for the first time in the Temple of Performing Arts on the 3rd floor. It's awesome. So we're back together at the office. They're trying to figure out what we need to be doing today, what strategically we need to be doing for the rest of the week, that sort of thing. Sometimes I'm prop shopping if we have an article coming up. Recently, we had to do some florals, and I stopped in my neighbor's yard and asked if I could cut some flowers. My days are so segmented and surreal sometimes. We're doing phone calls. Sometimes I'm giving a speech. I don't know. Sometimes I'm picking up giant golf balls.
It's got to look at your calendar and see what the day holds.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then I realize that I've overbooked myself, so I got to be somewhere, and Kate's got to go somewhere. Kate calls it the Liz Express, and she does not want to be on that train. So I just got to go all of my different places, and she's got to keep the fort down.
I love it.
Yeah.
Any questions from the audience for Liz?
Yeah, Bob. Hey.
Congratulations on your ongoing success.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, you're her favorite person for saying that. So when I lived, the backstory to that is that when I lived in Los Angeles, and I told this to Bob, Bob was one of the very first people that I told him that I was starting this business, and he was so supportive. And I told him the story that my mom would call me while I was in Los Angeles, and she would be watching on the news a car chase. And they would always be in Los Angeles, and she'd be like, when are you coming home? It was just, she hated it. I know my dad hated it too, but she was the vocal one. And so we would come back. Nick is from Des Moines as well. We met at Roosevelt. And we would come back, and we would see the way that Des Moines was changing while we were gone. And it was happening so quickly, and we felt that it was the right time to be back in Des Moines and really make that chance and that change, and we could be a part of something. So I won in 2013 or 14 the YP of the Year award from the Register, and it was a huge, huge honor. Why I won that, man. I wish that I had some specific reason.
You're a small business owner.
I was a small business owner, and Des Moines really likes to lift those people up. I think that I have tried to be really strategic to work on I don't say yes to everything anymore. And I've been able to focus on things. The Des Moines Art Center is my love. Oh, sorry. Is my love. I love working with that place. I've done many, many different things with them. I love Des Moines Ballet. I danced with them as a little kid with Ballet Iowa at the time. My mom was president of the board at the time. I grew up with that organization. I'm trying to give back to organizations now that have had a very real impact in my life. So those are the things like the Art Center at the Ballet. I work with my sorority nationally now because, man, they gave me so much. I work with the University of Missouri and try and do stuff with the University of Southern California people. It's all along the way, all of these organizations have believed in me or taught me something. And so now it's my turn that I have the ability to make sure that the next generation of little Liz's, that's a scary thought, can have those same opportunities and can still go to the Art Center for free and take a class and fall in love with art. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. We try to be. Thank you. Right. Okay, that's a great question. Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't have a website before, really. I had LizLidgettFineArt.com, but to be able to have an e-commerce site, those things are expensive. And so our goal was $10,000. So the Kickstarter funded up until about 12,000 of that. The other way that I ended up getting funded, because I have up until this point not had to take seed funding or have to take a bank loan, which has been an incredible thing for us. But I went and did a pitch competition. And it was called Invest in She through Iowa Women Lead Change. And I won $10,000 in a night, which was unbelievable. It was the first time I had ever pitched. We drove to Cedar Rapids. In every single way of the term, I have a family business. I mean, my sister is my COO. My dad is our general contractor. He has business cards that say so. My mom advises us all the time. My husband is my sounding board and helps me with creative stuff all of the time. So my dad drove me to Cedar Rapids, and I did a video for them, and then they all drove back to Cedar Rapids with me, and we did the pitch competition, and I think it's because they yelled the loudest. And then my mom started crying, and then the person next to her was like, "What just happened to you?" She was like, "That's my daughter."
I mean, that's a lot of money, and it's pretty
Oh, it was huge. It was huge. But so a pitch competition, I know there are more opportunities around the way that way, but we tried to get creative with the funding.
There's Innovate Her too through the SBA, and I don't even know if they do that program.
I think
that
they just
know. I think they got rid of it.
Yeah, I think that they are putting a pause on it at least.
Yeah. So
Anyway, but it was the website and all of the e-commerce site. So basically everything that I got went directly to my website company.
You had a question back there?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time. So I mentioned LinkedIn, right, at the very beginning, but I didn't go further into it. LinkedIn was that tool that really helped me start my business. I reached out to so many people through LinkedIn. I was constantly doing this search about, okay, so I knew Pioneer had an art collection. I knew that they didn't have anybody taking care of it right now. So who do I know that works at Pioneer, right? So I was on LinkedIn trying to figure that out, and I had a very, very loose connection, but I asked the guy to coffee. And within a week, they were my client. So LinkedIn has still to this day been that tool for me when we're trying to find certain ways into certain companies. Art is kind of funny because sometimes it's like under the real estate division, or sometimes it's under like custodial services, or you have to find this bizarre way in. But LinkedIn has been that tool. I try never to just cold call. I try and have somebody say, this is my friend Liz Lidgett. She has a business. Would you mind talking to her? So even if I don't really know that person, they're willing at some point to say that. I did not do this alone. I have had so many people stick up for me, pass my name along, pass my business card along. I mean, Des Moines is incredible, but I try not to cold call because it doesn't really ever seem to get anywhere when I've tried it.
Did you take the plunge and do premium on LinkedIn?
No.
You don't pay a subscription?
I know, I'm so cheap. No, I know.
I met with a client yesterday who swears by LinkedIn Premium, so.
Oh, that's good to know.
Are there any premium users in the room? No? Oh, well, we can hear this story from someone else, but it's supposed to be, I've heard it works for some small businesses.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Great.
Last question, and then question.
Yeah, they're all there. So they're on Coles Commons. Right now is Bankers Trust Centennial event. And so they're all out. It's until 2. There's free lunch if you haven't eaten. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, it was a total pain. I mean, we thought that they don't fit in normal cars. They didn't really fit in vans. We did some pretty interesting rope tying to get them to stay in. We thought they were all going to just come out on the freeway, but yeah, it was rough. But they're all there now, and then they'll be dispersed on Monday to all of their final resting locations.
Annie,
Yeah.
you have a question?
Yeah.
Great question.
That's a great question. It's probably a hybrid, quite honestly. We do a quarterly talk about what we hope is going to happen in that quarter. But like I said, things happen where they give us deadlines of a month or 2, and we figure out a way to do it. We do a lot of quarterly growth planning. We talk at the very beginning of the year about what our long-term goals are. One of those goals, of course, was to start the partnership with Martha. That happened pretty quickly. So then what are we going to do next, right? So we do that quarterly, but then there's a lot of just faking it till you make it. I love that phrase, fake it till you make it. And we'd figure it out along the way. It was really important for me to have a very solid business plan to begin with. I sat down also with Sharice Flynn, who was one of those people for me that made it feel like, oh, this just makes sense. I need to have X amount of clients at X amount of rate, and that's it. Isn't that super easy? No, and that's not how it works. But for some reason, it kind of calmed me. It gave me a path. Now, because we're in growth mode, it's happening so fast that that business plan changes weekly almost. So.
If there aren't any other questions, I'm going to do 2 things. First, a plug for the Iowa Center. So the Women's Business Center is hosted at the Iowa Center. We have a lot of different classes. A lot of them are free. We have a QuickBooks class, a marketing class. We also do a business planning course that's 8 weeks long. We have a session called Focus Me. So there's a lot of opportunities to plug in. You can like us on social medias at the Iowa Center. And I don't know, Christina, do you want to tell them about your upcoming June event? Then we'll applause for you, I promise.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. We have first Friday every month. The next one here will be in September. Yeah, here at the partnership. The July one is Lang Von Reef of Akili Design, and she also runs Agora Des Moines, which is an event space on Hickman. August is Sue Horton of Central Iowa Compounding, and she's speaking at the West Des Moines Incubator. And yeah, we have a lot going on, so my brain's all over the place. But
Oh, yeah? Yeah, oh, man.
Next step.
yeah, round of applause for Liz.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.